Hey all, today I want to talk to you about Karl Marx and the startup scene. The discussion would be on what would Karl Marx think of the current startup scene had he been living today. As we all know, Karl Marx lived in the 19th century and he was very disturbed by the capitalism that was taking place and ruling over the world. In fact, he was disturbed about the whole history of mankind, where there was division in between men, between workers and employers. Let's first review the main concepts of Karl Marx theories. So, in general, the main target, if we could summarize it in one sentence, of Karl Marx was simply to make the world a better place. This sounds very familiar with today's startup statements where they actually all want to make the world a better place, either by placing advertisements on our screens or playing other silly stuff. In general, we all want to make the world a better place, and Karl Marx was another person wanting to do this, and actually, he had some great theories about the whole concept and the state of the world that has taken place at his time and also today. Karl Marx had actually a very abstract thinking about capitalism. Capitalism was taking the world by a storm during the Industrial Revolution, and there were many distributing stuff going on which made people very unhappy. They were actually working too many hours in coal mines. Actually, even the whole family, the mother, the father, and the kid, just imagine this. They were waking up in the morning, going to the coal mine under the ground and working there for like 15 hours inside there. It's very gloomy, but this is not actually the main thing. It was only a consequence of capitalism, as Karl Marx described, and of the state of the world at that time. This abstract and very critical thinking about capitalism matches the critical thinking that today's software developers have about the world. What software developers do, or programmers, is create models of the world or the business problem they have, and this is exactly actually what Karl Marx did about his time and about capitalism. Let's review more about his sayings and thoughts. First, you should remember or know that the main thing that Karl Marx said was not socialism. Was not communism. It was nothing like that. It was only a warning to the world that capitalism is bad. It is inherently bad and it would destroy many things. Now, Karl Marx did not say that capitalism was not a genius invention. He did not undermine actually capitalism. He said it's an ingenious invention and that it's simply one of the most amazing things humankind have made. He is really aware of the benefits of capitalism. He's not only criticizing it, he's saying this is a genius program. It is making buildings larger than the pyramids. It is simply ingenious. But he warned, and this is the main thing to note about Karl Marx, he warned against capitalism. He was not a proponent, a super proponent of communism, or if he was more than that, a warning about capitalism. Why did he warn about it? He said that most of human history was divided in between people who had and people who did not have, or in his word, the haves and the have not. The people who have are the employers, the capitalists who are running the companies and deploy the workers. The workers are the one who provide the benefit, and the capitalist, the manager, the actual owner of the corporate is the one doing all the profit and all the money. And this is at the bottom of capitalism. You can't take it away. And this is what makes capitalism both good and bad. And we'll elaborate more on that. Karl Marx actually lived in an era which was the high end and the beginning of the new industrialism revolution. In this area, corporates and factories were taking people and placing them in assembly lines, and in those assembly lines they were working on some parts, like you know from the movie of Charlie Chaplin. This was the image that was inside Marx's head when he thought of about his theories. And when they work there, they provide the value for the corporate. But the problem is that this was not really a good thing for the workers, because they were only utilized as small peons, as small ants, which are making the job and making the profit for the corporate. Actually, Karl Marx said that religion and culture and art, as we know it, are just a cover. Just imagine this. All this religion and culture around the world are just a cover for the split in betweens the haves and the have not. And this is not a new thing to the industrial revolution. There were the landlords before that, and the people who worked the land, and before that there were the empires and the rulers and the slaves, and also in Egypt and in the other of Asian world there were the slaves and the rulers, and the whole history of of the later modern humankind is divided in between the rulers and the slaves. And this is the same thing today in factories and corporate. There are the rulers and the what you call the workers. And there is an inherent problem about this. Actually, what he's trying to say is that we have all been hacked. By all being hacked, meaning that we need to provide the profit to the company. And then he provided the communist manifesto. It's just 30 something pages stuff. You can consider it as some kind of an RFC. And in this RFC, what he proposed was the basic theory about the problem of capitalism. And again, in the Communist Manifesto, he does not promote too much the communist, while he tells us of the negative effects of the capitalism. And many people who read the Communist Manifesto think, or mainly especially if they read only the first and like the last pages, then they think that the main thing about it is the communism. But no, it's about criticism about the capitalism. And while criticizing it, he says that that the capitalism has many benefits. So he has a dual thought about it. Actually, what he did in communism is to extract like the common model, the main ideas, and the core ideas of capitalism and communism, and extract them outside and discuss them. And this goes along with his excellent abstract thinking about these components that he abstracted out, and taking them like an outside model and considering them while putting the spotlight on them. While he did that, there was another event going, which was the potato bubble explosion crisis in this crisis there was a lack of food, and it was very extraordinary to see what happened to the population, which was actually starved, while there were all these capitalists with all their money, and they were just on the side of the haves, and all the have-nots did not have what to eat, although they were working very hard. Now, he actually had a problem. He could not move forward his ideas, so he had to recruit. He joined a co-founder named Engels. Now Engels was from the side of the capitalist. He was the son of a factory owner, and Engels had a girlfriend which was on the other side, on the side of the workers. So through Engels, Marx was able to view how the workers had a rough time, because Engels, remember, was a factory owner, and he used to hang around with his girlfriend on the suburbs of England, and over there they were exposed to the hard life of the workers. And actually, what Marx is trying to do is exactly as what the startups are doing today, as Airbnb is doing, and as Booking.com is doing, as Google and Apple. They are trying to abolish the mediators. So just like Amazon is trying to ship you items directly, this is exactly what Marx is trying to do. He's trying to tell you the corporates that are in charge of your work are actually ruling not only your work but also your side effects, the outcome that you are having. And he did all that, we need to remember, with the power of written words. I mean, he didn't, he just wrote. He wrote the Communist Manifesto, and he wrote more books, and he tried to publish them as a journalist. And the power of these written words has affected the world. You need to remember China and Russia with the power of written words, which is very similar actually to the power of written code today, which is, remember, Amazon, behind Amazon, there is a large piece of code. Behind Google, there is a large piece of code. And behind Karl Marx, there were large pieces of words. This was his only tool. He wanted to drive history forward. History was stagnated between the haves and the have not. And Marx was trying to change the switch and to make people realize there is something bad going and you need to change the switch. Yes, capitalism is good. Capitalism is doing great things. It's enriching people, but it has an inherent problem. And this inherent problem which calls to bubble explosions, and we know we had bubble explosions. We know we had them at the 2000s. We know we had them at 2008. And if Marx was looking at them, he would just say, "Hey, I told you, capitalism is great, but it's causing great tension between the employees and the capitalists." After the Communist Manifesto, he created actually a version 2.0 of the Communist Manifesto, which is a much greater work and much more abstract and much more straight to the point, describing the exact problem. This book was named Das Kapital, and in this book he says that the difference between what the worker makes to the plant and what the capitalist gains is the profit, and the target of the capitalist is to increase this profit. And how would the capitalist increase this profit? By lowering the wage of the employee, or making work for more time, because this is his target, the profit. The whole economy revolves around this profit, and this profit is exactly the problematic wheel and the problematic engine which drives the capitalism. Now, We know that today corporates also pay high salaries to employees, but this also has some other problems, and he also talked about this. Now, let's get back to our question. What would Karl Marx say about the today's startup scene? Actually, it's quite hard to tell, but we can have a few guesses. One of the things he could have said about today's startup things, let's say it's positive. He could say that it's actually changing the diversion of work, meaning it's not really haves and haves not. You could take a kid and he could create a startup and make millions, right? There are kids like this who did it. But and with this, anyone almost with the Google Cloud and the Amazon services where you can instantiate EC2, where you can instantiate new instances, and it costs you just pennies. And with this, anyone could become an entrepreneur. With this, the recent employees can become capitalists or something similar like this. So you're not just born to be an employee. You have the possibility and actual possibility because all you need is a computer. And sometimes people program and the software with their mobile phone. So you can imagine a kid in Africa with a mobile phone that costs maybe $50, maybe $100, programming inside his mobile phone, creating a startup and becoming rich. Now, this is not easy, but Karl Marx might have said there is some change in capitalism. It's maybe going to a good side, but we all know that 99.9999% are not doing this, and therefore this is not really valid. But this is one thing that Marx could have said. Another thing which I think much more resembles Marx's theories about capitalism is what would he say about today startup scene is that startup scene of today is just a trick. It's a trick that capitalism pulls out of its head, and it looks like everything is working fine. Whoa, look, everyone are entrepreneurs, everyone are making an exit, everyone are working at the high tech. The 60% of Israeli population are on the high tech scene. Or whatever. It's causing a great advance in high tech and biology and whatever. This startup is making the human race progress into being the superhuman race. But no, actually, here he would say it's a trick. It's actually a trick that came out of capitalism, and the only thing that this trick does is make the pace of development much higher. And because it makes the pace of development much higher, the pace of the bubble bursts and the economy burst that happened in 2000 and 2008 will now become much harder, much more difficult, and this may even be the last stick on the capitalism. This may even blow up the whole capitalism because, as you know, little startups might be sold like Snapchat for tens of billions of dollars. And Twitter, where you write 140 characters, are sold also for tens of billions of dollars. So, this whole thing might mean that the economy is just about to blow up. So this is another trick. It's making the humans move in a much faster pace, but the problem with making the human race run in a sprint, in a much higher paced sprint, the problem with that is that the bubble burst that we are going to expect is going to be much higher. The depth of the nation as we know it is becoming much higher. And this outcome of all this, we are getting closer to the great explosion that Marx expected to happen, which will ruin the whole capitalism. So with that, we are about to conclude our things, and with the summary that what we think Karl Marx would say is that the economy would become highly bubbly and explosive. If that was interesting and you would like to hear more of our thoughts at lecture, please go ahead to dev@rest.blogspot.com. As always, please do comment, do send us feedback. We are anxious to know what you think. Thank you for listening, and I hope to hear from you soon.